Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nasta Praeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Hari Om Tat Sat. 3735. Yena va Bhagavan Tusyed Dharma Yone Janardhanaha Samprasidati va Esham Etad Akyahi Me Anaga. Yena va Bhagavan Tusyed Dharma Yone Janardhanaha Samprasidati va Esham Etad Akyahi Me Anaga. Yena va Bhagavan Tusyed Dharma Yone Janardhanaha Samprasidati va Esham Etad Akyahi Me Anaga. Synonyms. Yena, by which, va, either Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Tusyet, is satisfied, Dharma Yoni, the father of all religion, Janardhanaha, the controller of all living being, Samprasidati, completely satisfied, Va, either or, Esham, of those, Etat, all these, Akyahi, kindly describe, me, unto me, Anaga, O sinless one. Translation by Jivangiri Desi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. O sinless one, because the personality of Godhead, the controller of all living entities, is the father of all religion and all those who are candidates for religious activities, kindly describe how he can be completely satisfied. Please repeat. O sinless one, because the personality of Godhead, the controller of all living entities, is the father of all religion, and all those who are candidates for religious activities, kindly describe how he can be completely satisfied. Purport. All religious activities are meant ultimately to satisfy the personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is the father of all religious principles. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.16, Chaturvida Bhajante Mam Jana Sukrutano Arjunartho Jignasarardha Jnani Chapartavarsha. Four kinds of pious men, the needy, the distressed, the enlightened, and the inquisitive, approach the Lord in devotional service. And their devotion is mixed with material affection. But above them are the pure devotees, whose devotion is not tainted by any material tinges of fruitive work or speculative knowledge. Those who are only miscreants throughout their lives are compared to demons. Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 verse number 15. Namam dushkritano moda prapadyante naradam maya aparata gnana asram bhavamasthita. They are bereft of all knowledge. In spite of any academic education career they may pursue, such miscreants are never candidates for satisfying the Lord. I'll try to understand this verse. Somagdhana timrandasya gnananjana salakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam panghum langete girim yatkrupa tamham vande Sri Gurum Devatarinam Paramananda Matavam Sri Chaitanya Yeswaram Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu bhayevacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Dadati Swakadantikam. Shri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. So in this chapter, as I think many devotees are beautifully described. So main point in this verse is how a living entity or a practitioner or devotee can satisfy the Supreme Lord. And we know, we sing in the Guru Vastaka prayers in the morning, in the Mangalarati, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya aprasadat nagati kutopi. So only if we satisfy the spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, then only Supreme Lord is satisfied. If we are not able to satisfy the spiritual master, then Supreme Lord we will not be able to please the Supreme Lord. So that is the main point. So let's first understand the sequence will be first. Let's understand from Srila Prabhupada what he mentioned to different devotees at different times, how to please him, please the Supreme Lord. And then we will see what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. Then we will see what other devotees and throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, various examples, we see how they satisfied the great devotees. And Prabhupada in the purport is detailing out here, as in this verse we see ena, va, either. And at the last verse, I think the third line, va, either are. So some are satisfying, means at least they are coming to Krishna. They may have desire, four kinds of people. So that's why at least Lord is pleased, they are at least coming to me directly, not avidi purukam, not indirectly through demigods, through others. But the topmost pleasing, the ultimately pleasing, supremely pleasing is one who becomes pure. That we will see from Sri Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then we'll see from others examples of devotees in Bhagavatam. And then we see Lord Jagannath's great devotees. So many are there. We'll try to see how much we can cover. I have 3 or 4 examples of Lord Jagannath devotees as we are going through the Lord Jagannath's festivals one after another. And especially this Saturday, we are celebrating Atlantic City Radha. So it is very important in that way also. So first from Srila Prabhupada, Krishna Kripa Murti Srila Prabhupada Jai. So Srila Prabhupada is mentioning when Nirantar Prabhu is asking Srila Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? Prabhupada said, if you love Krishna, that will please the most. So he thought maybe distribute more books, then that will please. But specifically in this case, for Nirantar Prabhu, Prabhupada said 1974, 22nd November. And then later another devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, then further he is mentioning, you may please me the most by reading my books and following my instructions therein, and by becoming fully Krishna conscious in this lifetime. In this lifetime itself, just like Khatwang Maharaj, within 1 minute he became fully Krishna conscious and went back to Godhead. And then Giriraj Maharaj is saying in 1985, Vyasa Puja book, how can we please you? And then Prabhupada is saying, by simply desiring to please me, you are pleasing me. And then further in other places, Prabhupada is mentioning to Bahulaswa Prabhu, chant Hare Krishna. And just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna Sikha. By simply doing that, you will be able to please me. Then in 6th December 1974, further Prabhupada is mentioning to devotees, ultimately everyone should preach and distribute books if they want to please me in the best way. Book distribution must be given stress always. So these are different ways. So ultimately, so basically, Prabhupada wants devotees to read his books, follow his instructions, and chant Hare Krishna and follow 4 regulative principles and distribute his books and engage in service. Even somebody is simply not able to distribute, but at least simply chanting and trying to do his best, that will come further in until Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada in the purports is clearly giving out those details. So from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mentioning in this case, this is from Antya Leela, from Sivananda Sen's, he took the dog while going, dog was following him while going to Jagannath Puri. And then, so there this verse is mentioned, verse number 32 from Antya Leela. Ara dena keha tara deka na paila, siddha deha pana kukura vaikuntela gela. Request all our devotees in ISKCON, Prabhupada is saying in the purport, request all our devotees in ISKCON become pure devotees. Pure devotees. So that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati is also further mentioning in other places. And from Chaitanya Leela, Chaitanya Anta Leela again, verse number 197 from chapter 1. Lord Chaitanya is mentioning to devotees how Srila Rupa Goswami, how Mahaprabhu showed mercy. How come Sri Rupa Goswami is able to understand the mind and internal desire, internal mood of mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Mahaprabhu is mentioning, Prabhu kahe prayag ihar hailama milan, ihar guna ihaite amar tusta hailamana. Lord Chaitanya replied, I met Sri Rupa Goswami at Prayag. He attracted and satisfied me because of his transcendental qualities. Sri Rupa Goswami wanted to serve the Lord to the best of his abilities. So that is the main important instruction. Best of his ability, that means whatever capacity, whatever talent, qualities we have, strengths we have, we should use to the best of the ability. That doesn't mean we have so many things but we don't want to use. We shouldn't become krupana, miserly. That is the first and foremost problem. We have miserly weakness. We are comfortable in our own way, not wanting to take risks in the serving the spiritual master and supreme Lord. So that's what it was. Since Rupa Goswami went all the way to the highest extent to serve to the best of his ability, and we see further from Sanatana Goswami also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then from Gita, Bhagavad Gita, we see Prabhupada is further mentioning, because we know Mahaprabhu himself is mentioning humility, humble is one of the important quality for a devotee, which pleases Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spiritual masters. So what does that mean? And Prabhupada is mentioning that in the 8 to 12 verses from chapter 13. Humility means one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. One should not be hankering after this material deception. Honor, dishonor pertaining to the body is useless. And tolerance means one should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. So the important point from these 4 verses from chapter 13 is Maicha Ananya Yogena Bhaktir Abhya Vicharini. So same point further Prabhupada mentioned, unalloyed devotion service. All qualities will develop automatically when somebody is trying to engage in pure devotion service without any other motives other than pure devotion service. No Yoga Mishra, Karma Mishra, Jnana Mishra. No tinge of any other fruitive activities or mystic perfections or any other than ultimate just pleasing spiritual master and supreme Lord. Further, Prabhupada is mentioning in Adi Leela, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mentioning Adi Leela chapter 7 verse 91. Sincere service rendered in any capacity. So, Bala Haila Paite Tumi Parama Purusharda Tomara Premete Ami Haile Krutarda. It is very good, my dear child, that you have attained the supreme goal of life by developing love of Godhead. This you have pleased me very much, and I am very much obliged to you. And Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport, quoting Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur Goswami, even at the expense of all my properties, temple, matas I have, if I could convert even one person into a pure devotee, my mission would be fulfilled. Spiritual master is not actually happy if disciple brings him money. But when he sees the disciple following the regulative principles and advancing in spiritual life, he is very glad and feels obliged to such an advanced disciple. So this is very, very important instruction. Should constantly strive. That's why that pratiksha, pariksha and samiksha, introspection and reflection is very important. Where we are, how we can progress, and discussing with devotees, sharing our love, we'll come to that, the 4 points, which further it is mentioned by Swayambhu Manu to Dhruva Maharaj. That's a very important point. So Madhya Leela also to Sanatana Goswami, again Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mentioning, Prasanna Haya Prabhu Tanre Krupa Kaila, Tanra Krupaya Prashna Karite Tanra Sekti Haila. Being pleased with Sanatana Goswami, Lord Chaitanya bestows his causeless mercy upon him. By Lord's mercy, he received spiritual strength to inquire from him, because he has completely given up all the attachments, completely, even the woolen blanket somebody gave, Even that Mahaprabhu was looking at very seriously at that blanket. Then that also he gave. He could understand the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then when he submitted also, even though they are Pandit, Nana Shastra Vicharana Kanikono, Sadharma Samstapako, Lokanam Hitakarino, Saranya Karo. So they are studying, they know all the scriptures, they were discussing with Brahmanas when the Muslim Nawab Hussain Shah came to his, why he is not coming to duty. He is discussing almost with 20-30 devotees from Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's not that he is not qualified, he is not expert, he is, but he is submitting in humility, utter humility to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So everybody calls me Pandit, but I don't know who I am, what I am supposed to do. So that's what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seeing these both from Rama Kaili when they met, Sri Rupa Goswami and Sri Sanatana Goswami, both are showing, teaching by their example, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also teaching by his own example how we should act when we engage in devotion service wherever we are. Doesn't matter what kind of devotee, whether beginner or intermediary or the highest level, whatever the level we are in, whatever the level other devotees, we should always be cognizant of these facts. Now let's understand from further example from Srimad Bhagavatam. Swayambhu Manu is instructing when Dhruva Maharaj was trying to kill all the snakes by performing big yajna. Then at that point Swayambhu Manu is instructing what a devotee, what a practitioner must have, what qualities you should develop. Titikshaya, Karunaya, Maitraya cha, Akila Jantushu, Samatvena cha Sarvatma, Bhagavan Samprasidati. The Lord is very satisfied with his devotee when the devotee greets other people with tolerance, mercy, friendship and equality. So these four are very, very important quality. So we get agitated so many times, or we become impatient. So as we do in service, as we do in book distribution, preaching and various things. So we should be very tolerant, merciful, friendship and equality to all living entities. And further in King sage Prabuddha Navayogendra speaking to King Enemy on this how to satisfy, and this big purport is there. Various spiritual masters, Jiva Goswami, Sridhar Swami, and many others, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur on this verse commentary has been given. Prabhupada is quoting them, all of them. Tatra Bhagavatam Dharman, here also it is mentioned Dharma Yoni. So Tatra Bhagavatam Dharma Sikshat Guru Atma Dainataha Amaya Anuvrutyai Tusyet again Atmadahari. And there it is mentioned accepting Guru as one's life and soul and worshipable deity. Very, very important point. The disciple should learn from him the process of pure devotion service. The Supreme Lord Hari, the soul of all souls, is inclined to give himself to his pure devotees. Therefore, the disciple should learn from Guru to serve the Lord without duplicity, and in such a faithful and favorable way that Supreme Lord, being satisfied, will offer himself to the faithful disciple. Jiva Goswami is mentioning, giving, just like in a dream, we are doing so many things. As soon as we awaken, then we come to the reality. Same way, the Guru is waking up the disciple who is coming, bringing him to the actual reality, bringing him to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So it's a very, very important point. So life and soul and worshipable deity, the Guru. So that should be our only goal, how to serve and please spiritual master. That means we should read and hear from spiritual master regularly. We cannot say that I don't have time. I have to finish 16 round, I have to work, I have to take care of family, this and that. And we cannot say that will not work. So we should be try to somehow or other, at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we should hear from spiritual master at any cost. Then only we know, otherwise how will we understand what spiritual master wants us to do? We don't hear. We hear from everybody else, but spiritual master we don't hear. Then that is not going to help us. So further it is mentioned by Nagnajiti, when Lord Krishna entered to actually marry Nagnajiti. There King Nagnajit is mentioning Achitam Punariti Narayana Jagatpate Atma Anudeva Purnasya Kurvami Kim Alpakaha. Alpaga means very simple. I don't have anything. I am insignificant. What can I offer? You have everything. So that King Nagarjiti first worshipped the Lord properly and addressed him, O Narayana, Lord of the universe, Lord Jagannath, Lord of the universe. You are full in your own spiritual pleasure. Therefore, what can this insignificant person offer to you? So we see that so these important instructions how to be always insignificant, thinking that I don't have anything. So while cooking, while making garland, whatever service, while dressing, so that's why this is very very important quality we must develop. We should pray any service, whether it's cleaning, whatever service. When we go to temple, we should pray to the Sri Prabhupada and spiritual master and various acharyas, depending on what type of service we are performing, so that we seek their mercy, we seek their spiritual strength and the quality to engage in that particular service. Otherwise, what quality we have to do any of these services? We are not qualified. Then we will be able to. Otherwise, we think we are great cook, we can make great garland, we are great dresser. Any of this. Externally, we may seemingly it may look good or opulent, but internally there is no devotion in it. So, because we are not taking the strength of the spiritual masters, so and that we see from these great examples of the exalted devotees, and that's what we see from even full surrender by Prahlad Maharaj's grandson, Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj simply because he is the Krupa Siddha, Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport. How he surrendered fully, completely, to the best of his ability. He mentioned to his spiritual master Sukracharya, said, at the end of his life, at the time of death, when everything is taken away anyway, then why not offer everything? Even though we know that he is going to take away from me everything, so what is the use of keeping these things and not offering? And one point which Mother Earth doesn't feel, she feels very, angry, and she feels very, she cannot tolerate one thing, which is cheating propensity. Not being truthful and making lies, telling lies. So that's why I cannot cheat this Brahmana. I have already given my promise. Let me fully surrender. Even whatever he is going to do, that is immaterial. So he fully surrendered. And Prabhupada mentioned, so this is the quality we should develop. Try to do the best of our ability, serve the spiritual master. Now going back to the great devotees of Lord Jagannath, in Jagannath Puri. So I'll take an example of Raghu from Jagannath Puri. He used to live very close to Jagannath Puri temple near Lion Gate. He used to live. And then one time he made a nice garland. But when he went Lord Jagannath to take the darshan of Lord Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Chaturtha Murti, then he was somehow or the other he would relate. He could see him see the lordship as the Lord Ramachandra, Sitaram Lakshmana. So then immediately he developed some kind of friendship mood, Sakyaras with Lord Jagannath. Then in that way, then he made a nice garland with the string is made of banana bark. So he was very poor but very simple and very devotional, pure in his heart. So he went and tried offer to Lord Jagannath. Then the Pandavas have taken. They saw that this bark, this string is made of banana, or then they rejected. They didn't take. So then he was very morose. He went back to his home, but he was not able to sleep. And then Lord Jagannath appeared in the dream of and then further they were trying to worship the Lord. Then the Lord was not happy. Then Lord Jagannath indicated to this head Pujari that my great devotee Raghudas tried to offer, but you rejected him. So until that you will not be able to satisfy him. They are trying to, after the Bada Sringar, I think they are trying to offer flowers. But none of the flowers is able to stay there. And they couldn't put even one flower on Lord Jagannath because nothing satisfied when, especially his Lord Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj also mentioned in his previous classes that one thing Lord Jagannath is Patita Pavan, but one who has pride, one who criticizes or offends, rejects, devotee who is sincere, then is not pleased. So Lord Jagannath in this case, he was not pleased. So then he instructed, indicated, then immediately they went and got the garland from Raghudas and then offered Lord Jagannath. So in this way, then Raghudas was very happy. And so Lord Jagannath reciprocated. And further, we see that then Raghudas became very ill later on. And then Lord Jagannath personally himself used to come as a boy and clean. So he was very, smell and everything was so very bad. Basically, he was leaving everything, stool and urine and whatnot. He couldn't because he was very poor, nobody there to serve. Lord Jagannath personally used to come as a boy, take care of everything. He used to put the chandan and the sandalwood paste and some incense and everything nice smell is to come after cleaning everything. Lord Jagannath personally himself. And then Raghudas understood, this is my sweet Lord Jagannath is doing this. Then he was speaking with Lord that, Lord, you are the Lord of the universe. You can cure my disease. Why are you doing this? You shouldn't touch my body. I am so sinful. This body is so much, smelling and everything. So you shouldn't do this. That means you are putting me to more and more hell. This is an offense. I am taking service from the Lord Himself. So please do not do this. You could have cured my disease. Why are you doing this? Then Lord Jagannath said, I want you to relieve you from all the prarabdha karma. So that's why I want. And not only that, as the devotees want to please me, they get so much pleasure in serving me. In the same way, I also take great delight in serving my devotees. So that's why you can see Lord Jagannath's devotion for his devotees. So much he was, so takes so much pleasure as Lord Krishna does in Vrindavan Leela. Also, same way here we see not different. Lord Jagannath is showing by this example, and later on that pastime we all know, where Lord Jagannath wants to, because he developed this friendship rasa. Lord Jagannath, let's go and play. So let's go to I want to eat jackfruit. Said, yes, I can buy and get you. No. He said, no. I want to steal. So let's go to the jackfruit garden, and then they devised a plan, and then Lord Jagannath said, okay, you do like this. Then we all know the story. I'll not repeat that. Then we have another devotee. And later on also, during the Ratha Yatra day, Lord, the king and everybody else trying to pull the Lord to Sundarachal from Nilachal. But Lord chariot is not moving at all. They put so many elephants and whatnot, horses. Previously they used to do that more than pulling by devotees. They used to use these different animals to pull. But nothing could move the Lord. He is Bhavagrahi Janardana, and he knows by devotion. We see many examples from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally had to move, touch. So then the king at that time, I think British rule. And what kind of Lord is this? This Lord of the universe applying so much strength, so many devotees, everybody pulling, but nothing is moving. He is not moving. What kind of Lord he is? So in this way, this British saying, then they called, everybody know by that time, Raghudas is not ordinary devotee, he is a friend of Lord Jagannath. They play, Lord Jagannath himself is directly reciprocal. Then they called Raghudas. Then Raghudas immediately went to Lord Jagannath. He spoke something in the ear. Then immediately chariot started moving by the devotion of Raghudas. And with the same, I think all the time is up. From Manohar, another devotee from Manohar Das, from nearby Sahapur in Orissa, he also, while walking a long distance, he found beautiful flowers, lotus flowers and different flowers, fragrant flowers. He picked up those flowers and made a nice garland. He put a nice garland and put in his uttariya, tied it. And then he came finally somehow or the other he reached. He was almost like unconscious. He was full of tired because he was walking so long. Then when he reached Lord, then they asked him, what did you tie in that? Then he showed, then he wanted to offer. Then he said, already, because it's been days, all the flowers have become, some are rotten, some are, lost its thing. Then they don't want to offer. And then they beated him like anything. He fell unconscious. So that night, Lord Jagannath again told to king in a dream. So you treated my devotee very badly. How can I sleep? how can I sleep if my devotee is feeling is unconscious and is not, you deprived him of my, my mercy, so my service, please immediately bring him and offer that. Next day when they opened and then they brought him, then they opened that thing, then all the flowers were beautiful, nice and fragrant, and it's like a fresh and smelling like a divine fragrance was coming out from there. So in this way, so we can see it is only by bhaktya tutosha bhagavan gajayotapaya, only by devotion, not by being a brahmana or something. It is by only intense devotion and sincerely seeking to try to come into pure devotion. This is the only way we can please. And from Tulasi also we see how Lord reciprocate. Padmavesh, from Raghudas or Manohar Das, this Padmavesh started. They started doing Padmavesh. And then from also Tulasi Das, beautiful pastime is also there. From there, that pastime Raghunath Vesh came, one of the another Vesh. So one time Sant Tulasi Das, realizing the fact that Lord Sri Jagannath himself is Param Brahma in appearance. So he, in his advanced age, very old, but still he proceeded on foot from Kashi, from Varanasi Kashi Peeth to Sri Kshetra Puri, Jagannath Puri Dham, alone, to see his Lord Sri Ramachandra, because Tulsidas is always worshipping the Lord in the form of Sita, Rama, Lakshmana, Hanuman. So he has written Ram. So he was thinking to see the Lord Jagannath and in Sri Kshetra Puri as a Lord Ramachandra, not as Lord Jagannath. So with that intention, and Lord is Bhavagrahi Janardana, so in that mood he went to see all the way from Kasi, just by foot walking. Armed with bow and arrows in Lord Jagannath, the pious desire inspired him to travel. So in that way, the covering a long distance with hardship, still he went. So, but on the way in between Katak and Bhuvaneshwar, in a place named Tulasi Talva, locally near Tulasi Sarovar, he took rest in the night. That later on became popular. And the next day he resumed his journey on the foot early in the morning and reached Puri. And on his arrival, he entered into the temple and by ascending these 22 steps, Baisi Pahacha it is called, and stood in front of the Lord Jagannath in Ratna Simhasan. And then he could see Param Brahma Lord Jagannath with round black eyes, Sri Vigraha, without hands and feet and ears, seated and being worshipped. He could not see Param Brahma according to his conception in the form of Sri Ramachandra, Lord Ramachandra, with bow and arrows. So being disappointed, he left Puri without taking any food or drink. So Lord, understanding his mood, then he could not tolerate such anxiety of Tulsidas, was walking on the foot. Then he is going back because he couldn't see the Lord in that form. Then he is going back. Then all the way he reached Atarnala, Alarnath, same place, Atarna. He crossed Alarnath, a road bridge over 18 nalas, and rapidly proceeding from Puri to Kashi via Bhatamangala. Bhakti Purushottama explained about this Bhatamangala also very nicely. So on the command of Lord Jagannath, Lord Hanuman, as I mentioned before, the 8 Devis, 8 Shivas, Ashta Devis, Ashta Mahavir, Ashta Hanuman, 8 Hanumans and 8 Shivas are controlling and protecting, especially protecting the Lord Jagannath Puri in different places, different directions. So here Lord Jagannath asked Hanuman, many stories are there, many pastimes are there, from Lord Hanuman and also Lord Shiva and different Devis at different places. So here Lord Hanuman, Lord Jagannath asked Lord Hanuman to stop him. And so he sat on the road bridge over Atarnal and obstructed Tulsidas from proceeding to Kashi. Tulsidas paid no heed to the indication of Hanuman and proceeded ahead on the road to Kashi. On the way in the village called Malati Patapur, there Tulsidas halted again in Tulasi Chauvara, elevated platform having a sacred Tulasi tree in a pot. At night, even in the midst of hunger and thirst, stayed there out of fatigue and frustration, not seeing Lord Ramachandra and Parabrahma, Sri Jagannath. So he fell asleep. So while closing his eyes, he saw in a dream Goddess Mahalakshmi telling Lord Jagannath that no devotee returns from Puri without taking Mahaprasad in the form of sacred cooked rice, avada. And this is also one of the Mahaprasad. And we know different types of Mahaprasad is there in Jagannath Puri. Avada is in a pot. Devotees eat directly from the pot. Same pot, different devotees can eat avada. That is very famous. Other than we know in Ananda Bazaar, we get so many different types of items. That is there. And also there is a Nirmalya, rice. We break Parna on Dwadasi day, and that is called Nirmalya. And so that generally is supposed to be taken, it seems. Recently I heard, directly drink it, put it, not chew it actually, with water we can take like that. That's how we're supposed to take it, seems. And so here anyway, Mahalakshmi told, so in telling Lord Jagannath in a dream, Tulsidas didn't take anything, he didn't even take Mahaprasad, so I cannot have. So then he said, so he left Puri without taking any food on him. So she requested Lord Jagannath to proceed himself in a disguise of a small boy, taking the sacred rice and curry, which is called Mahaprasad, and offer him to partake. So Mahalakshmi in this way instructed Lord Jagannath. Then Sant Tulsidas, when asked by the boy to take Mahaprasad, then Tulsidas told, I would not take the sacred rice and curry without seeing my divine Lord Ramachandra. Then the boy asked him, open his Ramcharitamanas manuscript, which is available with Tulsi, because he was always carrying. He returned palm leaves and bound in red cloth, asked him to refer to Doha 117 from the 5th Chopai to 8th Chopai, which Tulsi himself had written, but he forgot totally. We are in Balakanda. There it's been Benapada Chalai Sunai Binukana Kara Benukarama Karai Bidinana Anana Rahita Sakala Rasabogi Binubhani Bakata Jogi Tana Binu Parasa Nayana Binu Deka Grahai Grana Binu Basa Ashesha Asisam Samabati Alaukika Karana Mahima Jasujayi Nahi Barana, where his mention basically is that Param Brahma who walks without feet, hears without ears, does various works without hands, tastes all sorts of items and juices without mouth, touches all without skin, sees all without eyes, and smells all without nose. That Parabrahma is so extraordinary, mysterious, that is unknown to gods even. Lord Jagannath is the very said Parabrahma, which you have narrated in your above dohas and poems. He is residing in Sri Mandir, being bound and tied with the devotional thought of his devotees. The boy narrating this told Tulsidas to return and look again, so he can see him in the form he desired and described in Ramcharitamanas. Then Tulsidas, being emotionally charged and overwhelmed by the words of the boy, then he again resumed his journey to Puri again to see the Lord now. He came running and reached Puri and ascended the Baisha Pacha, 22 steps, prostrated before the Lord, sitting in Ratha Simhasan. Then he saw the Lord, then he completely lost his consciousness, regained his senses. He looked at Lord Jagannath, folded hands, standing position. He became surprised to see the Lord in the form of Sri Ramachandra with bow and arrow on the Ratha Simhasan. So he immediately begged excuse and prayed to the Lord to forgive him, as he could not recognize him and could not realize his own version written in Ramcharitamanas. So where it is mentioned, immediately spontaneously he composed. Spontaneously Sant Tulsidas wept profusely and tears rolled down from his eyes, and he confirmed his version by the inspiration of the Lord. And then he composed, which came out from him, Johi Rama Sohi Jagadish Dina Hina Ananta Parvata Sesh. Lord Jagannath is Rama, Rama is Lord Jagannath. He is the protector of the poor, downtrodden and neglected, like the mountain is being protected by Seshanag, Ananta, upholding the same by placing the earth over it. So in this way, Tulsi Das became satisfied, and his journey to see Lord Ramachandra in Puri in Parambrahma Jagannath was fulfilled completely. Then he returned to Kashi from Puri Dham on foot, meditating over this event. So in this way, this Raghunath Vesh, from that time it became very popular. It's very expensive. That's why they keep it for almost 7 days. so many devotees go and visit to take darshan of the Lord Jagannath. This is Raghunath Vesh and Ratna Simhasan. Thank you very much, Jai Krishna Gandraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Jai Jagannath, Jai Bhagdev, Jai Sudaman, Jai Sudarshan ji, Jai Sant Tulsi Das. Hare Krishna.